Adam Schefter reported earlier this morning that the Green Bay Packers are now expected to try and work out a deal in the coming days to keep head coach Matt LaFleur in Green Bay. Now you might be thinking to yourself, Joey, we already talked about this. And if you want to hear my full thoughts on this exact situation, then go watch our video from this morning. Quick summarize. I got mixed emotions. Like if you want Matt LaFleur to be fired because of the fourth quarter blown leads and because of the lack of playoff success, then frankly, I can't really argue with you. Like, I get what you're coming from. I get what you're saying. But also, I believe that you've got the youngest roster in the NFL. You got a young quarterback that you've invested a lot of money in. I don't think the best course of action is to move away from a head coach that has seemed to get some good things out of said quarterback. Well, Adam Schefter tweeted that this morning. Then in the afternoon, he went on the Pat McAfee show. He talked about Matt LaFleur, but he also threw out a rumor. It's not the first time we've heard it about the Green Bay Packers possibly being interested in John Harbaugh. We'll break that down in just a second. I hate the Bears, maybe more than I ever have at this current moment. And if you agree with me, make sure you hit that sub button. Bears now put out a video earlier today. They got 61 subs. Let's get 100 because I need the win. You need the win. We all need the win, okay? Subscribe to the channel if you hate the Bears as well. So Adam Schefter kind of went back a little bit on his earlier tweet. Maybe not went back. He just went into a little bit of further depth and kind of kept the door a little bit more open to the Green Bay Packers moving on from Matt LaFleur than it was this morning. He said the one thing that we know is the Green Bay Packers and Matt LaFleur are going to try and get a deal worked out. That doesn't mean they're going to get a deal worked out. So he's saying just because they're trying doesn't mean it's going to happen. Peter McAfee then said this is pretty useful info. Schefter says LaFleur's market value, in his estimation, is well north of what he's been offered so far by Ed Policy, which is why a lot of the media's posturing is about money. So you've got a situation here where Matt LaFleur thinks he's worth this much, Ed Policy thinks he's worth this much, and they're kind of just at a standstill right now. Rumors are circulating that Matt LaFleur wants around $12 to $15 million a year. Which, yeah, of course, it sounds like a lot of money to you and me. I would kill for just, how about 1/12 of that? I'll take that right now. But, like, from an NFL standpoint, that would land him right on the cusp, tied to be top 5. Andy Reid, right at the top. Sean Payton in second. Then Tomlin and Harbaugh and McVay. One thing that these head coaches have all in common, outside of Jim Harbaugh, is a Super Bowl win and a long line of playoff success in the NFL. Because you got to think about Jim Harbaugh's tenure in San Francisco. Okay? Matt LaFleur doesn't have those things. So if you are Ed Policy, you're saying, look, why do you feel like you deserve to be paid as much as these coaches when your playoff record is what it is? Peter McAfee thinks it could get even more interesting than that. He said, I wouldn't rule out a trade. There's been a very public pocket-watching conversation going on in the media, and my read on that is Green Bay thinks LaFleur wants too much money. LaFleur's agent thinks Green Bay is being cheap. They might both be right. So a trade could happen, possibly. Maybe get a first-round pick back, and then you would have an opening. They might just move on. Who's to fill that opening? Well, Adam Schefter thinks it might be John Harbaugh. Fill in the blank for me. Be Ed Policy. I would pay Matt LaFleur blank million a year. Let me know down below in the comment section what that answer is and weigh in for me. All right, let's get to the John Harbaugh rumors. This isn't the first time this has been reported, but it is the first time that Adam Schefter has really gone in on it. He said if the Packers don't get a deal done with Matt LaFleur, that opens up the possibility of Green Bay as a potential favorite for John Harbaugh. His agent is Brian Harlan, and his father, Bob Harlan, was the president of the Green Bay Packers for 19 years. There seems to be a lot of pushing for John Harbaugh to Green Bay. A lot of it done by the media, a lot of it done by the fans as well. And I'm here to tell you, from a perspective of both, I don't think of myself highly enough to call me media, but at the crux of it, right, I am still a fan. Look, I'm not interested in this one bit. Not at all. If the Green Bay Packers fired Matt LaFleur to hire John Harbaugh, I think that would be a massive step back. But Joey, We're tired of Matt LaFleur blowing games late in the fourth quarter. Then why the hell are you hiring John Harbaugh? Because that's what John Harbaugh has done for the last decade. Don't believe me? There is a graphic that goes from the top of your screen to the bottom of your screen filled with score bugs that have fourth quarter blown leads. The interesting thing about John Harbaugh is he's also benefit heavily from the rosters he's been a part of. Now, obviously, he won a Super Bowl. He coached that team to a Super Bowl. But it was filled with the best safety in the history of the NFL, the best linebacker in the history of the NFL. And then they draft Lamar Jackson, who's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, two-time MVP. And his time in between, though, he's been mediocre. Couple of 8-8 seasons, couple of 10-win seasons, but a 9-7, a 5-11. It's like he's benefits from some really, really, really talented rosters. In fact, even though Lamar Jackson was injured for 4 games this season, they still had a talented roster. And they didn't even make the playoffs. And if you're worried about spending money for Matt LaFleur, you're going to have to cough it up for John Harbaugh. Because apparently, per Tony Grossi, what he wants is $20 million a year, $10 million in staff budget, total authority over the roster, and would also like to select his own GM. Well, as we know, Brian Gutekunst is also on the last year of his deal. A lot of demands for a guy who has won 3 playoff games with Lamar Jackson in the last 7 seasons. A guy who has not won a Super Bowl in over a decade. A lot of demands right there. So, I'm just here to tell you guys, the grass is not always green. In fact, I think John Harbaugh, like I said at the very beginning of this, would be a step back. I promise you. There's no schematical advantage that John Harbaugh has over any opponents. Not one. At least you have that with Matt LaFleur in a sense. And the thing about Harbaugh is, too, I'm not saying he'd be a bad hire across the NFL. If you're the Giants, if you're the Raiders, if you're the Falcons, if you are any team that needs just a ton of stability at the moment, go get John Harbaugh. Green Bay doesn't need that. They need somebody to push them over the edge. So why would they go get a guy who hasn't been able to do that for his own team? Do you get what I'm saying? Who would you rather have? Matt LaFleur or John Harbaugh? Give me an MF or a JH down below in the comment section. Weigh in with your answer. While you're weighing in, we got to give you a quick word from our awesome sponsor of today's show, our great friends over at Underdog. Look, the football playoffs are here, and Underdog is the best place to get in on all the gridiron action. Let's cut to the chase. Do you want $75 in bonus entries? Well, if you do, download the app today, use promo code Packers Report, and play your first $5. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players go higher or lower on stats like rushing yards, receptions, touchdowns, and more. Get your picks right, and you could win up to 5,000 times your cash. Monday Night Football tonight, Texans, Steelers are actually higher on Nico Collins, 4.5 receptions. Higher on Kenneth Gainwell, 4.5 receptions. Even lower on Aaron Rodgers, 204.5 passing yards. So what are you waiting for? Download the app today and use promo code Packers Report. Score $75 in bonus entries when you play your first $5. That's promo code Packers Report. Underdog. Make picks, win money. Must be 18 or older, 19 or older in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 or older in Colorado for some games, 21 or older in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia. And present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/playing-good-terms_DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 helpline at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY to 467-369. So, Joey, if not Harbaugh, then who? Well, nobody in the first place. I don't think you should fire Matt LaFleur. But if you do fire Matt LaFleur, here are my top 5 replacements. Number 1, Clint Kubiak. I'm so impressed with what Clint Kubiak has done. Sam Darnold, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. I love the physicality they run the football with. They're the number 1 seed in the NFC. Clint Kubiak, I think, is going to be a great head coach. And I think he'd do great in Green Bay. Jeff Hafley. You already have a guy you believe is a head coach caliber in your building. Why not keep him there? That would make a lot of sense to me. It'd be a very, very easy transition. Number 3, Robert Saleh. A guy who actually has been in Green Bay. A calendar year ago, he was on as an analyst after he got fired from the New York Jets. I believe he deserves a second chance. If you look what they've been able to do in San Francisco, with losing guys like Fred Warner, Nick Bosa, defensively, still go out there and be one of the best defenses in the NFL, I would love Robert Saleh. I think he really got dealt a bad hand in New York. Brian Flores, to stick in the division, I'd be very interested in that. What I would like about Brian Flores is you wouldn't be giving him a really, really young quarterback. Now, sure, it would only be Jordan Love's 4th year as a starter, but still, I think Brian Flores learned from his mistakes in Miami, and his time in Miami really was not that bad. In fact, they went 9-7 the year they fired him. It's their first back-to-back winning seasons since 2003. That time is often remembered different than it was. And then Joe Brady. This one I wouldn't be absolutely juiced up about. Like, I'd be excited about it, kind of. But, like, I don't think Joe Brady's that big of an advantage or of a, step forward over Matt LaFleur. In fact, I don't think he is one at all. But still, he'd be just rounding out my top 5. Just not a lot of good candidates right now. Which is why I don't think you should fire ML. Make sure you guys got me followed on socials. That's going to do it for today's show. We'll be back tomorrow morning with another video. So I'll see you then.